Are you looking for a fall decoration that is really easy to make? Well, these jack-o'-lantern themed luminaries are a perfect thing, easy to make, beginner level. The great thing about these is I made them out of fence pickets. So a fence picket, where I got them, costs about $2 for a 6-foot fence picket. And if you do this right, you can get 2 of these luminaries out of 1 fence picket. So these only cost $1 each to make. So if you wanted to sell these at only $1 a piece, I'm sure there can be money made if you had a good place to sell them. So we're going to get into exactly how we make them right now. So I picked up these fence pickets at Lowe's. You can get them at any kind of home improvement store, I'm sure. Lowe's was closest to me, so that's why I went there. They were only $2.08 each, and that is for a 6-foot tall fence picket, and that is actually a 5.5 inch wide piece, so like a 1x6. Now the thickness of these are not they're not your typical 1x6. I'd say they're more closer to a 1/2 inch thick, but I thought it would be a good item to use for these jack-o'-lantern luminaries that we're going to make. Now, the only concern I have with using something this width and this thickness is cutting. When we go to cut it by hand, being thinner and not as big of an area, it's going to be harder to cut detail in. In a lot of cases, a wider piece might be a little bit better. But to start out with these, they're kind of rough, so I want to hit them with a sander. There's kind of it's like sawdust. I think they were wet, and there's sawdust that's like balled up on the surface. So I just want to go over it with a sander real quick, clean up that sawdust, and just make them a little bit easier to work with. So that's how we're going to start. Now with these fence pickets, what I figured out was that if you cut them to about 7 3/4 long, each one of these, you should be able to make 2 luminaries out of 1 fence picket. So we'll cut them to 7 3/4 long. And then what we're going to do is we're going to cut out these designs. Now I'm going to show you a few different ways that we do this. So it depends on what you have as to which way you're going to choose. The first way here is I'm going to show you how to make one with a CNC. So I went onto Creative Fabrica, which is a website where you can get patterns and designs and fonts. There's just an endless amount of things you can download on there. And I found some jack-o'-lantern plans. So the faces, the cut files. And what I did was I just downloaded one of them. Now, I'll leave a link down in the description for Creative Fabrica, but what they do on there is you can pay by the file, or you can just subscribe and you have like a year's subscription to anything on their website. You can download it as many times as you want. The great thing about it is that they have fonts on there. They have different patterns and files you could download that would work really well for this type of craft or other similar crafts. Give you things that you can cut out on a CNC. So it is a very useful tool. Again, the link will be in the description for that. But I just decided to download a file and import it into my CNC program and cut the first face out using that file. Now, one nice thing about making these is you could do this for other holidays. So if you wanted to do Christmas themed ones, you could do Christmas themed ones. It would really work well. You could do a tree, or you could do a reindeer, or whatever you come up with. You could do other holidays as well. So this is not just a Halloween type of design. So on Creative Fabrica, you could probably find some patterns and files that would work really well for this type of thing. So this is how it's done on the CNC. You can see it turned out very well. I'm going to do a similar thing here. We're going to actually hand cut this one. So if I wanted to design this myself, one thing I want to do is I want to try to keep it no lower than here. So I'm just going to draw a real light line right here just to give me a guidance. I don't care how tall up it goes. I would like to keep this solid down here because we're going to have some kind of light down here, and I don't really want to see the actual bulb or the candle or whatever it is through the mouth. I want it to be raised up. So we used to always draw just goofy faces on pumpkins, cut them out with a knife. And so we're going to do that again. Just make sure I'm got my boundaries set here. So I'm not going to cut anywhere outside those markings. It's all going to be inside of here. And I'm just going to sort of draw some eyes, some goofy looking eyes. Maybe something comes in like this. And then another eye over here. We're going to do the same thing. We always did triangle noses, so I'm going to do a triangle nose. And I'm going to do a mouth. This big smiley mouth with some buck teeth. A little bit hard to draw on this wood. So we're going to do something kind of like that. To do this, we're going to have to drill a hole that the drill bit can fit down in, or the saw bit can fit down in. Here's a little tip. Anytime you're drilling a hole, I always want to put a board underneath it. I don't want to drill into my benches, but won't splinter out as much if you do that. Hey, I just wanted to interrupt real quick in this process of building these cool things and just tell you that you're going to want to hit the subscribe button. I have something really cool that I'm going to be announcing here in the next coming weeks that I think a lot of my subscribers are going to like. A lot of my viewers, even if you're not subscribing, you're probably going to like this, and you're not going to want to miss out on the announcement. I'm not quite ready to announce it yet, so I just wanted to give you a heads up that this is coming so you don't miss it. Probably in the next couple videos, we're going to start rolling this new thing out. I'm really excited about it, and I wanted to give you a heads up on what's going to be coming soon. So hit that subscribe button, and let's get back to this cool build. Now for this last example, I'm going to just show you how to glue a pattern on. So going back to the files we downloaded before, I just selected one that I thought would look good, and I printed it out, and then I cut it out. And what we do is we'll just take some spray adhesive and spray it on the back of the pattern and place it in place on the board. Now you want to let the glue dry before you start cutting. Once it dries, you're ready to go. Now, just like with the one we just drew by hand, this one you're going to want to drill a hole in the center of the area that's going to be cut out. And the purpose for that hole is to fit the blade down in. Because when cutting with a jigsaw or a scroll saw, you need to be able to feed a blade down into the middle. You don't want to cut from the outer edge. You would lose all the effect that you were trying to get. Now we're going to file out the rough spots in these hand cut designs. There's one drawback to especially using a saw like this is it created some rough spots and it needed filed out. You don't get the real crisp cut like you do with the CNC. So we just take a file and we, file out those bad spots, and then we're ready to move on. Now, one other thing we have to do with this face that we just cut out that we glued the paper on is we need to sand that surface. So there could be some glue residue still on it. There's also going to be paper stuck to it. You can peel as much of it off as you can by hand, but there's always going to be some left over. I just get a sander out and sand it really good and sand all that paper off and try to sand down a little bit so we get through all the glue was. Now for assembly, I just use glue and finishing nails, and I wanted to keep it simple. And I also thought nails give it a little bit of a rustic look, which I thought worked really well with this fence picket. It has a rustic look anyways, so the nails would work really well. I also felt there was no way to hide screws, and so this was really one of the only ways to do it. Usually I like to hide all fasteners. In this case, it was almost impossible. The other nice thing though is it makes it a beginner level project, which is one of the things I wanted to do with this. So we just used some finishing nails and it works really well. The glue is there to just help support the nails. It helps just create a nice bond so it's less likely to come apart down the road. So I'm using candles in this. Now, it's not that I wanted to use candles, but it was all I had on hand. And I wanted to get this video out. So I thought this is the next best thing to what I would recommend, which is I would recommend these LED lights. Now, you can get them on Amazon. But a link down in the description. But you can get LED like tea light candles, and they can even flicker like you'd see in these. I'm sure you can see the candlelight flickering. You can get the same effect in these LED lights. I would recommend doing those over real candles, just for safety reasons. You don't want to necessarily burn a candle inside a wood box. I feel like you're at a fire risk potentially. We just don't want to go there. So take a look at those LED ones. I saw in the listing on Amazon, they actually said that it's battery powered, it lasts for 200 hours. So that's not too bad, really. Might be a good option. If you don't want to deal with battery powered and you wanted to use something that just plugs in, when I was a teacher, we made these boxes similar to this. And what I was teaching my students was how to use a scroll saw. And so they were cutting out like college emblems like Ohio State's O, and they used a few other different colleges. Miami, they used the U, I think, and I had some students make some other mascot type emblems similar to this. But what we did was I found it was almost like a nightlight size bulb, but it was connected with a cord. And in the line of the cord was one of those light switches that you twist to turn on and off. And then it would plug into the wall. And I'll put a link in the description for that. Looks like this picture right up here. But the nice thing about these was you just drilled a hole somewhere in the box. It could be on the bottom, it could be on the back. And that bulb fit through that hole. And then it kind of was just like a snug friction type of fit, where there are these two prongs that you kind of squeezed in, and when you placed the bulb base in the hole, those prongs opened up and held the bulb in place. Really nice because you could turn it on and off whenever you wanted. You didn't have to reach down in and get a candle lit or get one of those LED lights turned on. It was just always available. So I would recommend one of those two things. They're a lot safer. And you just don't have to worry about always lighting a candle. The candles eventually burn out. You could forget about the candle and go to bed, and you just don't want to do that. So for safety's sake, I would highly recommend using one of those other options. So that's really all we have. As you can see, they turned out really well. We'll turn the lights off here, and you can see they glow nice. They remind you a lot of a jack-o'-lantern. One nice thing about these is, like I said before, the cost of these is so low. You're talking about $1 per luminary. You could definitely make some profit on these if you wanted to sell them. I would maybe bundle 2 or 3 of them together. I would bet you could get $30 or $40 for like maybe a bundle of 3, and it's going to cost you $3 and some time. But if you had a CNC, that cuts out some of the time, and then you're just dealing with assembly. And it's really not all that bad. I think these would probably sell well at craft shows. And I know it seems like there's always craft shows that pop up in the fall. Would be a good time. You probably want to get on it real soon here. But I believe that they would sell. You could probably also try selling them on Facebook Marketplace. I'd imagine you could drum up some business on there too, because they have a really cool look. Now, don't forget to subscribe. Like I told you before, I have a surprise coming out soon. It's going to be in one of my future videos. You're not going to want to miss it. It's going to be really exciting. I think you guys are all going to like it. So hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and probably want to hit that little bell so you get a notification when my videos come out, so you can jump on this opportunity that we're going to have here coming. One other thing, watch these videos that are coming up here on the screen. They're going to show you some projects that are what I would consider more beginner projects, and I think they'll really sell well. So check those out. Maybe you'll find something that inspires you to make something that could help pay for your hobby or even create your little side hustle. Aside from that, we'll see you next time.